Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I have a story for you that will keep you glued to the screen from the very first minute. Because it has everything: love, betrayal, sacrifice, and a millionaire secret so wild that when it finally came out, everyone was left speechless. Now, settle in because this one starts on a quiet morning that was supposed to be normal but turned into a storm that changed several lives. Forever. It all began with a woman named Mira, a calm, kind-hearted girl who worked as an assistant in a large real estate company. She wasn't rich, she didn't have luxury or a glamorous life, but what she did have was strength and honesty, qualities that often attract trouble before they attract blessings. Mira was always at work early, always helping others, and always keeping her head down. Little did she know, she was about to be thrown into a situation far bigger than anything she had ever handled in her life, and it started with a single sentence from the last person she expected: her boss, the mysterious billionaire CEO, Adrian Cole. Adrian was known for two things: running a massive empire and keeping his personal life sealed tighter than a bank vault. He didn't talk about family, he didn't talk about friends, and he definitely didn't talk about relationships. There were rumors, sure. The company was always full of whispers. Some said he had a secret lover. Some said he was secretly married. Others said he was simply too cold to love anyone. But one thing everyone agreed on: no one knew the truth, and Adrian never explained anything until that day. It was around 8:15 a.m. when Mira walked into the office with her usual coffee in hand and found Adrian waiting near her desk, which was unusual. He never came down to the employee floor. Everyone went to him, not the other way around. She blinked, surprised. "Sir, is everything okay?" she asked. He didn't answer, not at first. Instead, he looked around the office, checking if anyone else was there. Then he stepped closer and lowered his voice. "Mira, I need your help, and I need you to stay calm," he said. She froze. You could tell by his tone. This wasn't about work. This wasn't about a project. This was personal. Before she could even respond, Adrian continued, "There's someone coming here today, a woman. She might ask questions about me or about my situation. If she comes to you and demands something, I need you to tell her I'm your husband." Mira choked on her own breath. "What?" Adrian looked serious, dead serious. She whispered, "Sir, what are you talking about? Why would I say something like that?" Adrian ran a hand through his hair, something he only did when stressed, which Mira had seen maybe twice in 3 years. Her heart raced. "Faster," he said. "Mira, please, I can't explain everything right now, but I need you to trust me, and I need you to protect me by saying those words. Tell her I'm your husband." It sounded insane, absurd, even dangerous, but something in his eyes told her this wasn't a joke, this wasn't a prank, this was fear, real fear, and Mira couldn't understand why. Why would a billionaire be afraid of a woman who was coming to the office? Who was she? An ex-wife, a stalker, a business rival, a threat? Mira tried to ask him, "Sir, who is she?" but he held up a hand. "I promise I'll explain, but right now, I can't risk her knowing the truth. Just tell her I'm your husband, nothing more." Her mind raced, a million thoughts crashing together. What was she getting dragged into? Why her? Why not someone else? But before Mira could even react, the elevator dinged and the doors opened, revealing a tall, sharp-looking woman in a luxurious black outfit, heels clicking like gunshots as she approached. Every employee in the room froze. Everyone knew her face, even if they hadn't met her. She was Isla Prescott, one of the richest and most influential socialites in the entire country, and more importantly, Adrian's rumored fiancé. She walked straight toward Adrian, but her eyes were filled with cold fire. Adrian's jaw tightened. Mira could feel the tension thick enough to choke on. Isla stopped inches away from Adrian. "So this is where you've been?" she snapped, her voice loud enough for the entire floor to hear. "Hiding behind your employees instead of facing me?" Adrian didn't reply. He simply stepped half an inch behind Mira, not fully hiding, but enough to shock Isla, and everyone watching. Mira suddenly understood he wasn't kidding. He was actually counting on her to protect him. Isla shot a glare at Mira. You're his assistant, aren't you? Maybe you can explain why this man vanished for 2 weeks without telling anyone." Mira swallowed hard. This was at the moment she had to deliver the impossible lie, but before she spoke, she heard Adrian whisper softly behind her, just loud enough for her to catch, "I'm right here, don't be afraid." It helped. She straightened her shoulders, took a small breath, and said the sentence that would change everything. "He's with me, because he's my husband." Isla's jaw dropped. The entire office gasped. Adrian closed his eyes briefly, like a weight had been taken off his chest, but the real explosion came from Isla. "You must be joking," she hissed. "Him married to you? That's impossible. He would never." Mira didn't let her finish. "Ma'am, it's the truth. We've kept it private for personal reasons." Adrian's fingers brushed her arm gently, almost like a silent thank you. Isla wasn't convinced. Her fury grew. How long? How long have you two supposedly been married? Answer me." Mira forced herself to stay calm. "For 6 months. She lied." Isla laughed, cold, sharp, cruel. 6 months of marriage, and he never told anyone? He didn't tell his board. He didn't tell the press. He didn't tell me his fiancé. The word fiancé hit Mira like a punch. She turned to Adrian, shocked, but he avoided her eyes. Isla wasn't finished. She stepped closer until she was inches from Mira. "Listen to me, little girl. I've known Adrian for years. I know everything about him, and one thing I know he would never marry someone like you. You're lying. She turned to Adrian. Tell her to stop. Adrian didn't say a word. He stared at the floor, and his silence was the real confirmation Isla needed. She gasped, stepping back. You let her say that you're letting this absurdity stand. You actually want people to believe she's your wife. Adrian's voice finally came quiet but firm. Isla, please leave this floor. We can talk later. In private. No, we will talk now, right now. Isla screamed enough that security began watching from the doorway. She pointed at Mira. I'm not leaving until you admit this stupid fake story and tell everyone the truth. Adrian hesitated. Just enough for Myra to feel her stomach drop, but then something strange happened. He moved closer to her, placing a hand on her shoulder and said, I already told you the truth. Isla froze. So did Myra. Those words coming from him felt real, like he wasn't acting anymore. Isla looked between them. You're serious. You actually married her. Adrian stayed silent but firm, his hands still on Myra's shoulder, steady, reassuring, but something else was behind it. Something like guilt, maybe panic. She couldn't tell. Finally, Isla's fury turned into something more painful. Heartbreak. You replaced me, she whispered. After everything I did for you, after everything we planned, you married her behind my back. Her voice cracked and she stormed out of the office, leaving everyone stunned. Mira felt like she couldn't breathe. What just happened? What had she just gotten herself into? She turned to Adrian, her voice small. Sir, what was that? Adrian didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the elevator and said, Myra, come with me. We need to talk. And she followed, because what else could she do the moment the elevator doors closed? Adrian slumped against the wall, breathing heavily. Myra had never seen him shaken like that. She asked again, Sir, please. Tell me what's going on. Adrian ran a hand down his face. Mira, I didn't want to drag you into this, but I had no other choice. Isla, she's dangerous. Mira blinked. Dangerous? How? I don't mean physically dangerous, he said, but she's been trying to force me into a marriage contract for months, and my family kept pushing the idea because of her connections, my company, my freedom. Even my future was being tied to her without my consent. Myra listened, confused but slowly understanding. He continued. I've been trying to break things off quietly, but her family controls several major investors in my firm. If she publicly accuses me of breaking an engagement, my entire company could collapse overnight. Mira whispered. So you told her we were married to protect yourself? No. Adrian looked at her again, this time with something soft in his eyes. I told her because it's the only way to make her back off without destroying everything I've built, but I couldn't use anyone in my circle. Her family watches them too closely. I needed someone trusted, quiet, private, and honest. Someone who wouldn't betray me or expose me, and that was you. Myra stepped back, shocked. Why me? I'm nobody. You're the only one I knew wouldn't use this against me. He said, you're the only person I can trust right now. Mira's head spun. She didn't ask for this. She didn't want this. She never imagined pretending to be the wife of a billionaire would be part of her career path. But then Adrian said the words that changed everything. We need to keep pretending for a while, a month, maybe two, until I settle things, legally dissolve all ties to Isla's family, and secure control of my board. Myra felt her knees weaken. He wasn't asking for a lie. He was asking for a full performance, a dangerous one. And what if she said no? What would Isla do? What would Adrian do? Everything around her felt unstable. Before she could speak, the elevator opened, leading to the executive floor. Adrian placed a gentle hand on her arm. Mira, I promise you won't be harmed. You'll be protected and compensated. But I need you to stand by me just until this ends. Please. She had never heard the cold billionaire sound so human, so desperate. She finally exhaled. All right, sir, I'll help you, but only until you resolve everything. Adrian actually smiled, a rare, real smile. Thank you. Myra, you don't know what this means. The next few weeks were madness. Myra had to appear with Adrian at events, dinners, board meetings, even a fake small wedding photo shoot to keep the story consistent. She was suddenly Mrs. Cole, wearing expensive dresses, riding in luxury cars, being escorted by security, and constantly surrounded by whispers. Some admired her, some hated her, some didn't believe her, but Adrian always stood by her, always defended her, always held her arm, like she truly mattered. And she hated how much she noticed his warmth, his scent, his softness behind the cold mask, because she knew this wasn't real. This was all temporary. The more time she spent with him, the more she realized he wasn't the emotionless CEO everyone claimed. He was funny, sharp, a little lonely, and surprisingly gentle. When he trusted someone, days turned into weeks, and something changed between them. Myra couldn't deny it anymore, and Adrian definitely wasn't hiding it. His looks lasted longer. His smiles were softer. Whenever they had to pretend to be a couple, it began to feel less like acting and more like something real. One night after a charity gala, they sat alone in the back of the car. Mira leaned her head on the window, exhausted. Adrian looked at her. Myra, I need to tell you something. She looked at him, half asleep. What is it? He hesitated, then said, I'm no longer pretending. His voice wasn't commanding. For once it was vulnerable. Myra's breath caught. Sir Adrian, he corrected gently. Adrian, I'm not pretending anymore. I don't want this to end. Mira, this felt dangerous, not like Isla dangerous, but like falling in love. Dangerous, she whispered. You said this would only last a month. I know, he said, but everything changed. You changed it. I didn't expect to feel this way. Myra, what we have. It's real to me. Myra's heart raced, but she looked away because she knew once this crossed the line, there was no going back. But fate didn't care because Isla returned. Stronger, louder, angrier than before, she showed up again with reporters claiming Adrian abandoned her. Myra found herself cornered again, and Adrian finally snapped, enough. Isla, stop this madness. Isla pointed at Myra, screaming, she's lying, she's not his real wife, she's nothing. Adrian stepped forward, placing himself between them. Mira is my wife, and I love her. His own employees gasped. Isla froze, her eyes wide, as if the world stopped around her. Mira felt tears sting her eyes, because for the first time he said it, not for protection, not for strategy, not for a lie, but for truth. Isla turned red with rage. You'll regret this. Adrian, you'll regret choosing her over everything you built. She stormed out for good, and Adrian turned to Myra, slowly, softly, like he was afraid she'd run. Myra, I meant what I said, every word. She didn't speak, not at first, but her silence wasn't rejection, it was emotion, and Adrian stepped closer, gently taking her hands. Myra, I dragged you into chaos, I put you in danger, but if you give me a chance, I want to make this real, not pretend, not temporary, real. Myra swallowed tears in her voice. Adrian, are you sure? I'm positive, he whispered, because you're the only person who's ever seen the real me and didn't run away. They stood there close enough to feel each other's breath, and for the first time, Myra didn't pull away. She whispered, then tell me again, without fear. Adrian smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Myra, I love you. And she finally whispered, I love you, too. The story didn't end there. But that moment changed everything. The lie that started as protection became the truth that tied their hearts together, and the sentence that began this chaos, tell him, I'm your husband, became the sentence that defined their future, because Adrian didn't just want Myra to pretend anymore. He wanted her to stay his wife for real, forever. And this time, Myra wasn't afraid of the world. She was ready for it, as long as she walked beside him, and that's the end of the story. If you enjoyed this dramatic, emotional, and totally unexpected twist, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping stories, and I'll see you all in the next video.